So here's a brief snapshot of how my morning went. I went out to the beach. It's a beautiful day. Listened to the ocean. Awesome. Came up with 2 aligned actions I really wanted to complete today. Went inside and started down a path of working on the computer, doing one of them. One of the aligned actions was to simplify the landing page for my Live Your Medicine offering. Even though there's only 2 more days until the first introductory call, I really have been processing a lot and distilling down and making more realizations that led me to want to simplify. So I spent some time doing that. Took a little bit longer than I cared to. And by the end of that process, I was far out of the enthusiasm of alignment that I experienced on the ocean. So I decided to come out for a hike, deciding that the 2 hours I spent on the computer doing that web page upgrade were sufficient. And as I took a walk around the labyrinth, I really started to ask myself what I was feeling. What is this out of alignmentness? What is it? Not what is it not? And so it was fear. Anger, fear, pain. Anger, fear, pain. Anger, fear, pain. But fear. It's fear because this is about stepping into an arena where I'm seeing people in their awakened state when currently they may be unconscious or apathetic or in grief or anger or fear and pain. And so my working through my own fear is a key process to do in advance of meeting the people, so that I can be in full love of every single response that may be going on for them, because I've worked through it in myself and I've loved it. So I walked around the labyrinth with fear of what? Discovered it was fear of my experience not being good enough. Comes down to that same primal thing. Even though I've transcended it at one level, it comes back to be reloved. And in this case, it turned into I am secure in my shining. I am my brilliance secure. And this is not about ego brilliance, I'm better than you brilliance. This is about sun brilliance. This is the isness brilliance of the nature of the sun. And I saw the most amazing photographs of the sun the other day that were, wow. It was like every color in the rainbow in these swirls of liquid flame, and the shapes that we humans have drawn for electromagnetic fields just being illustrated there in a physical photograph. Awesome. So I really have a visual to the connection of I am, and I am my sun presence, and I am my brilliance secure in the way that the sun is secure. It's not really asking permission. It's not hiding. It's not shamed by any weather patterns that come through. It just is all the time. And it's that unwavering, and that is within us. That presence is the life force coursing through our entire being. So then I left the labyrinth, and I continued to stay, and I heard myself say internally, well, if only this were like my art, this is business, this is not my art, this is different. And the moment I heard myself say that, it was like, aha, what if they are exactly the same? Why do I have to believe they're different? Why is my art so separate from my business? I've created that divide in my mind, and what has been the beautiful freedom of my art for me is I don't care. I don't care what anyone thinks. I'm happy to have chances to show and exhibit and have a community of other people making art. And yet I'm so not into the art scene. And I really don't care about being accepted in the art scene. I find it fascinating to be a practitioner of it and to be able to share in my process with others who are doing it. But I do my art for me. I do my art to experience me. So my only standard for what's next in my art is what's next for me. Okay, if I'm done with something, I don't care how many people want to buy additional copies or additional versions of the same thing, because I'm done. And I see that pattern in my life where I've really hesitated to trust that in the past that my life is it just happens in chapters. I'm into something really deeply and then I move on. And that's my truth. That's the flow of my inspiration and my brilliance. And I'm now seeing again the depth of, oh wow, that is true for me. And I'm pouring my creative energy right now into building certain offerings to bring me into contact with people and to put all of my learnings from the creative process into action for people who have lost contact with the creative process or have lost the connection between what they're doing creatively and what the quote practical world is requiring and asking of them. And I really see that my life purpose is, I see the interconnectedness of everything. And there is no separation. We create it. And here's the depth of forgiveness that we're being asked to summon in this moment of transformation for humanity. The depth of forgiveness is to realize everything we've done up until this very moment in time when I'm speaking, in this moment, everything that I've done up to this moment, and that includes everyone in my lineage and everyone on this planet up until this point, we have each done because we've believed that was the only thing possible. We have each done the only thing we could have possibly done based on what we believed in that moment. And if you look at the evolution of your life, what you believed when you were 2 is different from what you believed at 20, 40, whatever your current age is. So we've had an evolution of our belief system, some more than others, and that belief system came from either what someone else told us and we believed, we just took their word for it, or what we saw someone else do and believed, oh, that's possible, maybe I can do that. So we adopted a belief that way. Or we imagined something from the invisible realm and believed that and made that into our reality. And those are the same 3 sources that we create from as artists. Our memories, what we've seen in our experience, whether it's other people's art or our own visual experience of something, or our imagination, the invisible images that we see internally and then bring out. So here's the depth of forgiveness there. If we notice that everything we have done and everything anyone in our lineage has done and everything anyone on this planet has done is based on believing that something is possible and that was the extent of what's possible, let's forgive them for doing the only thing that they could have done based on what they believed, and let's open ourselves to making another choice. We don't actually have to adopt another belief system necessarily. We have our inner sources of imagination, and we also have this pervasive consciousness that is aware of what I just said, aware of the observation that everything I have created in my current experience comes from what I've believed up until this point into existence. And so when we think of things happening out there, like the system, the government, the environment, the planet, those people, my family that are external, I'm actually touching an experience that began with my own consciousness. And so the source of everything in my experience that I assign some sort of interpretation or meaning to is within me. And the reason the depth of forgiveness is so deep is because we need to direct that forgiveness at ourselves first, deeply. That whatever we didn't know and didn't believe or didn't try before was something that was based on a limitation in what we believed at the time, and it's okay. Or it was based on what we were allowing ourselves to do to protect ourselves from feeling certain things that weren't safe at the time, and that's okay. And as we deepen the forgiveness all the way to the core of our consciousness and bring total forgiveness to that consciousness, what do we free up? What can that core consciousness bring into our reality now? What do we see about the possibilities for thriving in our lives now? And for me, I notice I get quiet. I go inward. I begin to breathe more for myself, in myself, through myself, than for any kind of display. My voice becomes something I feel more deeply within me. Before I begin to project outwardly for others to hear. They're both important. But when I begin to do the process of forgiving, it comes inside. And that comes down to another revelation that I've been not quite believing I could say to doctors yet, but is so core to my discoveries. And that is, why have you not given yourself permission to practice your art for you? Your art being whatever it is, your practice of medicine, healing, joy, desire, whatever. But what is the belief system that would say it's not possible for any other human being on this planet to practice their art for themselves, and that wouldn't be of benefit to the people around them? It would require a shift in expectations and empowerment within relationships, for sure, and that is probably the most healthy shift that could happen for most of the players within the healthcare system, is to have more healthy co-empowered relationships with boundaries, choice, and responsibility among all players. And I just see such a blossoming of color and life and joy being brought back to the equation of, quote, health care, which both health and care have slowly been oozing out of our healthcare system, delivery-wise. I see vibrancy coming back. I see creativity and uniqueness coming back, and people being empowered to seek a physician who brings their own expression and joy and desire to their practice as being desirable. And we've believed in the monetary system as being a constraint, and what we are required to do is to see it differently. And if the system as it exists now, which we created, it's not outside, The system as it exists now, if it does not meet our new requirements for thriving, we cannot consent to it any longer. It needs to be believed in order to exist. And the amount of fear that is now pervasively spread throughout society in response to what quote unquote we have to do to get our healthcare insurance or whatever is paralyzing us from actually declaring what it is that we do want. We're prisoners to the system that we're all dissatisfied with, but we've acquiesced to. We've consented to it. We are the consent of the governed. And we chose to be governed under this system, and we can choose again. We have that power at all times. The problem is not being awake to it. So now it's time to awaken to it. And this is like a domino effect, because someone set up the dominoes, but as soon as you knock one over, the entire thing falls down pretty quickly. So I have no worry about tackling this huge problem of the system. I am concerned with being the awakened voice of seeing our own power, that we're each a domino and we're each lined up against other dominoes. And if we wake up, people around us will wake up, and we will create our change from our desires, as long as we're awake to our desires, and as long as we are aligned in our bodies as our desires. It just can't be any other way. Because this is the way it's operating already. So many of us have shut down our desires. We've become the consent to the system that we agreed to, that we allowed to happen. And let's think about the number of people in this country who work at a given job only out of the justification that I get health benefits. How is that okay? To have this behemoth economy that we're so proud of, based on a bunch of people consenting to, this is how I get my health care benefits paid for. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. And we have just been so unconscious to our own creativity in this area that we've just laid down. We've gone to sleep, and we've consented to, this is the way it has to be, and it is. And then we give up, and we just go about what's easier in our daily life, which is to keep consenting to something we don't actually consciously agree to. And this is what fundamentally needs to be awakened at so many levels of society. But again, I'm not overwhelmed by the complexity. I am focused on, within each of us, we created this. Our consciousness created our entire experience to date. We forgive. We forgive and we love our error. And we choose and recommit to wake up to the choices available to us right now, to that which we consent to actively right now, and that which we will not believe in anymore. We don't see it as existing anymore. We just don't. And we affirm what we do see, what we do envision, and we begin to act in alignment with our vision. Courage, people. That's true. But who isn't excited about courage? It's awesome. Courage is fuel. Fuel for creativity. and action. And I just point back to the sun as it begins to shine in my eye in perfect timing. We are sun presence. I am my sun presence. I am my brilliance secure. So the sun isn't asking right now whether it can shine in my eye. It just is. And this is who we are. We don't have to ask to shine. When we're connected to who we truly are, we simply just shine. Imagine a world created by awakened sun presence, connected to desire and creativity, aligned with courageous action.